She was the last woman to enter the drawing room at Sandringham that Thursday night, hurrying down the stairs in her black satin slippers, one slim hand adjusting a glove. She'd kept the Prince of Wales's guests waiting a full quarter-hour while her maid, Gentry, finished dressing her hair. The cream and gold room was filled with the clatter of her most intriguing enemies and friends. The men were elegant in black evening dress, and the ladies like a bouquet of tulips in their draped pastel gowns. Every head turned as Jennie Churchill swept through the doorway. The genteel chatter ceased. More than one gentleman ran his eyes the length of her figure. A few women gasped. Was her appearance that spectacular? She glanced at her reflection in the towering looking-glass over the mantel. She had ordered the blood-red damask from Worth in Paris, and it was the very latest fashion. Skirt gathered flat against her pelvis and flared at the rear in a half-bustle, with a demi-train that flirted across Sandringham's Aubusson carpets. Falls of black lace and jet graced the plunging neckline. Gentry had piled her thick black hair high on her head and left a few curls trailing at the nape. A 7-pointed Cartier star glittered with diamonds on her brow. It was the only jewel Jennie owned, but she was famous for it. Yes, that spectacular. She smiled secretly at her reflection and sank into a curtsy deep enough to encompass the entire room. Consuelo, Viscountess Mandeville, winked back at her. Minnie Paget, another old friend, turned away and redoubled her efforts to charm Harry Cust. But it was Jennie he was staring at over Minnie's shoulder. "You're looking well, Jane." The Marquis of Hartington came toward her with a glass of sherry. "That color suits you, matches the flush in your cheek." Hart always called her Jane. It was a mark of affection. As he was old enough to be her father and in love with another woman, she laughed at him and said, "I've been squabbling with my maid. She made me scandalously late. How was the shoot today, Hart?" "Damnably wet." He handed her the glass. "You should have come out with us. Fresh air and mud would do you good." Spring storms had deluged Sandringham all week. The gentlemen played billiards and potted rabbits when the weather was bad. The ladies gathered in the library in the morning room, writing letters and trading gossip, and making faint gestures at needlework none of them gave a fig about. Jennie was used to riding in London nearly every morning, and she longed to tear through the Norfolk fields. Her body ached with restlessness. "Nothing will keep me indoors tomorrow," she confided, smiling up at Hart. "If I have to scrape the mud from my boots with a chisel. Are you taking me into dinner?" "I believe that honor is mine," Harry Cust broke in. "You bounder," George Curzon protested, with a hand on Harry's shoulder. "You know we tossed for the privilege and I won." "Gentlemen," Hartington said warningly, "it does not do to make a prize of the lady, particularly when your prince is present." Jennie glanced swiftly toward the fire, where Bertie, the Prince of Wales, surveyed her with heavy-lidded eyes and thumbs thrust in his waistcoat pockets. In most English households, guests entered the dining room by order of social precedence. Not at Sandringham. Bertie liked to buck convention, and he loved women in Worth gowns. They were unabashedly feminine. One reason Jennie had ordered the red damask. Bertie's wife, Princess Alix, wasn't allowed to patronize French dressmakers. Her mother-in-law, Queen Victoria, thought it unpatriotic. "We shall draw lots for Lady Randolph," Bertie said deliberately. A titter of interest followed his words. The cluster of men around Jennie fell back. The prince summoned a footman, a pen, a pad of paper. He jotted down the names of his male guests and dropped the twisted squibs into a silver ewer. Then he offered it to Jennie with a slight bow. She reached into the ewer's depths, twirling her fingertips among the possibilities. Her lips were parted, her long-lashed eyes swooped lazily at half-mast. Minnie Paget, her thin brows soaring to her hairline, was muttering behind her fan to the Duchess of Manchester. Jennie was pleased to note that Louise Manchester looked merely bored. She withdrew a slip of paper and offered it triumphantly to the prince. He grunted and passed it to Hartington.
Count Charles Kinsky,
the Marquis read aloud, and turned his head to the far end of the double drawing room. Jennie followed his gaze. A dark-haired young man whose face tugged at her memory was studying her in a way she recognized, both assessing and caressing at once. He had not been present at breakfast or tea.